It's easy to look around and notice everything wrong in your city. In this podcast by Every Neighborhood Partnership, join Grace and Andrew as they invite friends, activists, pastors, leaders, and city workers to discover what's good in the neighborhood. Join us for insightful conversations that will encourage you to see your city and its people in a new way.
On this episode of What's Good in the Neighborhood, we have Jeff Jones to talk about something called the Working Genius. If you've never heard about it, it's a work profile that EMP has adopted and implemented here to help us better understand our working styles, how to create better teams, healthier teams that utilize the gifts of everybody on the team. So this is one of those episodes, if you've never heard about it, I think it's really going to spark your imagination for what this tool could do for you, your family, your workplace. If you've heard about it, you're going to hear some amazing examples and ways it's been integrated in Jeff's work and in the work of Every Neighborhood Partnership. So I encourage you, saddle up, maybe pull up the Working Genius website and dive in with us.
Welcome back. This is What's Good in the Neighborhood. My name is Grace.
And I am Andrew File.
Hi, Andrew.
Hello, hello.
Hi. We are back, and today we get to chat with someone who has led our team through something called the Working Genius, which we're going to hear all about today. But this is Jeff Jones. Hi, Jeff.
Hello.
What a name. Jeff Jones.
So many people say my full name.
It just rolls off the tongue
all the time at work. Yeah.
My maiden name was George, so I was Grace George, so same. Okay. I understand. And
is it just the short syllables?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cadence.
Yeah. Yes.
And we, prior to hitting record, we also realized another Bakersfield guy.
Yes.
Let's go.
This poor we're so sorry, listeners. They're just going to hear about Bakersfield every week. Oh, man. Well, Jeff is a certified facilitator of the 6 types of Working Genius. Over 25 years of experience in higher education leadership. And now he helps for-profit and nonprofit organizations apply the model that we're going to talk about today, what it is. If you've never heard of Working Genius before, that's okay, because Jeff's going to tell us all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Jeff, what made you even interested in Working Genius? And then just give us basic 101. What is it?
Yeah, I was finishing up my master's at Fresno Pacific University in Strategic and Organizational Leadership, and one of the final classes, each week we needed to come up with a little mini lesson of our own. And so I've been a Patrick Lencioni fan for over 20 years. He was, many years ago, Fresno Pacific had its own business forum, and he was a speaker at that just after 5 Dysfunctions of a Team came out, which I think is probably what he's most well known for. So I went to go do a little mini lesson on that, and I saw that there was this new model that had just recently come out. And okay, I'll put a pin in that one. Did my little mini lesson on five dysfunctions of a team. The following week, came back, read about the 6 types of Working Genius, did the assessment, and it just got its hooks in me. And so I was like, I don't know that this is going to be a one and done for me. That this is really stuck with me. Because it's not a personality model, it's a productivity model. And, Patrick Lencioni he talks about productivity is not just actual output. It's not like the number of emails or the number of meetings. That's not how you should gauge what productivity is. So this talks a lot more about the energy where you're not being drained as fast, like what gives you joy, where you thrive. There's a lot of language that can circulates around it. But yeah, it stuck with me. And so then I went through the certification training later on that year, which, it's a 2-day, 2 half-day online. And it was, I thought it was fantastic. People just love it. Speaking in this, it was a bunch of people who were facilitators. I was paired with some people in Australia.
It's fun.
And I was like, wait, what time is it for you? But they were fantastic consultants. They were just adding to another part of their workbook, their toolkit, excuse me. And so I really enjoyed it. And so I can talk about the model really quickly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So it is it takes the little tagline is team is spelled with 6 letters, or a project is spelled with 6 letters, and they are WIDGET. Spells widget, and all it is a mnemonic device. There's no thing about it being a widget, other than the flow is. It goes from the W stands for wonder. Those who like to step back and ask questions, they observe something and say, why is it that way? Ponder a lot. That gets handed off to, ideally, this all flows in order. The wonder hands off to the invention. So wonder identifies a problem, and let's hand it off to invention. Invention says, okay, I'll create something. I'll create a solution or solutions that can address this. Then it would be handed off to the Ds for discernment. The discernment says, like, this is a great idea, wrong time, or great idea, great time. And sometimes they can kind of go into this little feedback loop between I and D, the ID loop. And so invention says, okay, we'll come up with something else. Anyway, once a solution has felt good, if you will, at the discernment stage, then it will hand off to G for galvanizing. Now, galvanizing can sound like it's just cheerleaders, but it can also be somebody who just cut out all the noise and say, like, provide direction, focus, and just point at this. So it's not just cheerleading. There's somebody I work with. My boss is a galvanizer, and nobody would think that he's a cheerleader, but he can cut out all the noise and say, no, this is the priority.
Rally everybody.
Rally the troops. Yep. If you will. And then it gets handed off to enablement. Enablement in this context is a positive thing. You want to be an enabler in this model, but that is somebody who wants to help on. I want to help you on your terms, Andrew. So no, it's not just I'm here to help. We're doing it my way. It's like, how can I help you? How can I aid you? It's not the only helping genius, but they are generally tend to gravitate towards those opportunities. And then finally, tenacity. Tenacity is getting things done, checking the boxes, making the Post-it notes, crumpling it, landing the plane. There's all kinds of analogies that can be used there, but ideally it flows in one direction. Occasionally, like I said, the ID loop will go back and forth, but you don't want to go from W all the way down and then jump back up, and because they talk about the altitude of the geniuses. If the W is at the 30,000 foot, then T is landing the plane. I like my pilots to go slowly from W to T. I don't like, because it's uncomfortable. You can feel very turbulent, and then you can burn out. So ideally, you land the plane, if you will, and then start right back up, and then you go back. How can we do it better the next time? And so then the W's get to say, okay, yeah, I will have some questions about how we just did this. Yeah.
I love that you clarified right at the start. It's a productivity model, not a personality model. Because if you're listening and you're like, well, my Myers-Briggs is da-da-da-da, or my Enneagram number is this. Working genius, from what I understand, it typically shows up in your work, correct? Or how, but it can show up in other parts of your life. But as far as like getting stuff done in your work or in a corporate setting or on a team, this is where widget usually. It's the easiest way to see it.
In the work setting, for sure, church setting, home setting, like it's not limited to any one of those.
Yeah, productivity where you're trying to get.
Yep. I did it with my family just to test with them several years ago on vacation.
I was gonna say you made, I mean, during our training you had a really funny vacation, how your family's wired and how.
Yeah, so you take when you do this with groups, then there's a team map, and it shows where on the W's who's got it as a working genius, who has it as a working frustration. That's the area where it drains you the most. So then you look and see where there are an overrepresentation or an underrepresentation. And our family had nobody with I for invention. And they were like, what does that mean? I was like, well, did we plan anything about this vacation? Like, we just like showed up and we're like, we'll figure it out every day. Yes. And that speaking of Myers-Briggs, that is not work with me, but I'm not somebody who's going to invent something. So yeah, that's how, one of the ways it manifested. And there was a lot of, okay. And so like conversely, we don't, of the 5 core family members of mine that live in my household, none of us have T. So but my spiritually adopted daughter and her husband both do have T. So it was a couple times we invited them over before we even had this language of tenacity. And they were just like, nope, you're doing this, do this. And we got things done. Like, we responded very well. Yeah. And they were just like, they were embodying it before we had this language to kind of name it. But then we had those concrete points to look back and say, oh yeah, that was really got to lean into T there. And so
I think so. I originally got exposed to this Carol Young. Thank you. Carol is a big Patrick Lencioni fan and had followed him. And I've read, several of his books. If you haven't read, I would highly recommend any of his books. They're a fable in the beginning, maybe, 80, 90% of the book. And then he has kind of here's the points I was trying to get across. So it's a light, fun, easy read with some really good leadership points. But Carol exposed me to the model. And so we've had you train our staff twice. And so I think about 3 years apart. And for me, I think what has been really helpful, like, again, these are all, in some ways made up buckets and framing, but they help us name what is a reality we all see on the team. And again, EMP operates out of this like asset-based mindset. And everybody on our team has a unique wiring, a unique gifting, a unique way of things in a conversation give them life or energy. And instead of wishing they were me or me wishing, vice versa, we can actually just be like, oh, like I can tell when we go into planning, you are just like, done. You're like, just tell me my task. I don't want to be in this meeting. And that I'm a wonder. I love to dream. I love to plan. I love to go, what else could we do? What new program do we need to invent? How do we need to tweak our program to fit the vision and the mission and rework it? And then I could, you scan the room and I'm like, this person's checked out. And I could be really frustrated by that because you clearly then don't care about our work here. That's not it. They're just like, I don't need to plan. I'm not a wonder. I'm an enablement and tenacity. Andrew, tell me what to do, and I'm going to care for the people that we work with. I want to do it well, right? And I think that gave me a sense of appreciation, understanding, pace, and grace with people to understand how they're wired, right?
Yeah, it's really, I think, helpful. We live in a world where we're labeling and characterizing and bucketing, and then like, okay, then I know. Then now I know how to treat you.
Yeah.
I would not say that's the case here. I mean, I try to be careful about that. There's because two people with the exact same working genius profile can be completely different. They can be, one can be an introvert, one can be an extrovert. And there's no cross between Myers-Briggs or Enneagram or DISC test or color test. They've looked at that. There's not a correlation. What you're describing is what really got its hooks in me. Was the being free from the guilt of not operating in other geniuses and being freed from judging others for not thinking the way that you do or not operating the way that you do.
That's good.
So when I see leaders, at my institution or other companies, and I see one of the working geniuses that I don't have or is one of my frustrations, it's easy for me to say, "Oh, I'm not a leader because I don't." However they operate, and I can similarly when I operate in my working genius and others don't see it the way I do, it's easy for me to be quick to judge. That why can't you see it? It's so obvious. And so so that was when it really got its like it said hooks in me was I could be freed from the guilt and freed from the judgment of others, and it was really really helpful to just not constantly be berating myself or mentally berating others. Definitely not externally berating because that's not my personality. But I think that's probably some ways where it does come out. People are using these lenses to judge or judge themselves.
Ever wondered what makes your neighborhood unique? Or the history of your city that shapes the places you love? Well, now you can explore the city like never before, right from your own car, using the Voice Map app. Introducing Every Neighborhood Partnership's Drive Tour, a self-guided audio tour that brings your community's history, landmarks, and stories to life. As you drive through local streets, EMP's Drive Tour will guide you with fascinating insights from people, places, and events that have shaped your neighborhood. Whether you're discovering hidden gems, learning about community activism, or simply enjoying a fresh perspective on familiar places, this tour is a great way to connect to your community in a whole new way. So what are you waiting for? Tap into Every Neighborhood Partnership Drive Tour today on Voice Map and get to know your community like never before. Download the Voice Map app, search for Every Neighborhood Partnership Tour, and start exploring today. Fresno's story is waiting to be discovered.
When you've worked with catalytic leaders or people that find themselves in leadership, maybe they've just kind of found, they didn't like pursue it, but they're there now. How has imposter syndrome, like, have you ever seen imposter syndrome kind of lift as you're working through Working Genius with them? I love that you talk about the guilt and shame. I'm wondering if there's a correlation there with like, I don't belong here, or like I've seen other people lead like brash and harsh and bold, and I'm not that kind of leader. Am I even supposed to be leading? Have you seen people have those aha moments?
Definitely. So I do group settings, but I also do individual debriefs too. And so sometimes when we get into the individual debrief, now ideally when somebody goes through me, I don't release their results until we sit down and talk. So I can talk through the model, and they're not listening for their stuff the entire time. So I can lay out the whole model, and then I'll release it to them, or I'll have it printed and I'll hand it to them. And that has been really good, because one of the things I hear the most on the individual debriefs is they are quick to minimize their geniuses because to them it sounds easy.
Normal.
I was working with this VP at this one company, and he was like, well, I got the easy ones. And I was like, well, you really can't. Like, he was like, the other ones are more difficult, or I'm not, but I got the easy ones. Like, that was just his lens. And that does two things. One, it minimizes his impact, his contribution, because he is verbally saying that. He's coloring it to when other people hear what he said, oh, this is easy. But and then also calling it easy when others don't see it as easy is essentially insulting them for not being able to think along those ways. So I was able to push back. I had a good enough relationship with him to say, no, you can't look that way. So I think that probably lines up with your imposter syndrome. Think, well, I shouldn't be here. This stuff is easy. Like, I'm fooling everybody. I can see how that could be. We didn't use the imposter syndrome language, and I don't think that this guy was guilty of it. At least he had some bravado to cover it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that easy, that language of easy, or I just, or it's only, like, there's a lot of these modifying words that I'll pick up on when people use, and I, depending on my relationship with them, I'll say, hold on, like, you're coloring it without even thinking about it at the very beginning. Like, you're immediately saying, I don't even think this is I don't think this is worth your consideration when they have those languages. So I think that probably speaks a little bit more to that imposter syndrome.
Well, the things that we think come naturally to us, they're just like, well, what?
Yeah. I love to come into a room and just be like, oh, why, how, what if, and then you look around and you're like, oh, other people don't want to answer that question. Or then we go into invention and I feel stuck. I feel like I'm walking through mud where I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how to create the thing. Speak more to the weakness and strength piece. So folks that don't know the model, there's two strengths or two geniuses, and then two maybe areas that are frustrations that are less, strong.
And then capabilities, right? Because there's competencies. Thank you.
So speak to all that. Like, what does that mean? Not all of our work is just rainbows and butterflies. So there are always things that we have to do all of it. We don't get to opt out. But what does it mean to have geniuses and frustrations?
Yeah. I don't use the strengths and weaknesses language. I use like misusing or overusing or underrepresented or overrepresented, just because of what you said. Like, it's like the idea behind this is not, this is your weakness, you need to become stronger in it. This is like, no, this is where you operate. This is where you are, your genius. And conversely, the frustration is the thing that drains you the most. So whenever I do group settings, I bring props, and it's like I have my Yeti tumbler that represents the geniuses. This holds the heat a long time, holds the energy a long time. Then I have like some Starbucks or a Cup of Joy cup that's got a sleeve and a lid. It also holds coffee, but it's gonna be cold quicker. And then in the end is the styrofoam cup that is going to cool off very quickly. Everything can be hot in there immediately, and the Yeti tumbler is going to hold it for a lot longer time. So those would be the geniuses. Those are the things I'm drawn to. They hold the energy. They thrive. I get joy out of that. It doesn't mean that everything that goes in that coffee mug is the best coffee ever. It doesn't magically make it just because you are operating in your genius does not mean that you are a genius.
Oh, good.
Dang it.
That's a good clarifier, though. That's great.
Conversely, just because it is in your frustration does not mean that you are bad at it. And so you can have amazing coffee in that styrofoam cup, but it's not going to last a long time. So for me, I don't have invention. Invention is one of my frustrations. And when I first went through this model, I'm like, I was in IT for 19 years. I'm like, no way. Like, I'm supposed to have this. But I've had good ideas, but if I had to do that 40 hours a week, that would have drained me. Yeah. So just because you're operating in your frustration does not mean that it is bad just by nature of that. So you're right, though. You're going to have to operate in all of them. Yeah, you definitely want to see how much you can operate. So I've been thinking more at Fresno Pacific. I'm work with freshmen, and we were talking about vocation as like there's the trade, vocation as a trade, and vocation as a calling. And if I was gonna apply that to the working genius, it'd be like the more you can have your trade and your calling line up, that would be ideally the working genius. The more you can have in your green area, the working genius green area versus the red, the frustration, the better. But the competency is the one where it's neither frustration and neither is it a genius. And the more time you work, or the more of your duties or responsibilities that are in competencies area, can lead to burnout. So you want to take a look at those, step back. So you're right. You do have to do all of them. Just these are explanations, not excuses. You can't say, I don't have tenacity, therefore I don't have to do anything. No, it's an explanation. Like I think I share whenever I lead groups, I have a block of time every Friday afternoon, because tenacity is not one of mine. And I block it out for me to have dedicated time to clean up my inbox and my calendar and take care of these things, because I have to take care of these things, because otherwise next Monday I'm going to be frustrated and immediately start out messy. I like things to be clean and orderly, but sometimes it just piles up and Thursday happens, and I'm like, I'll take care of it Friday. And I have a mental in my mind. I have a spot in my week dedicated to take care of those things. Tenacity, tea time, if you will. It's unfortunately it's not golf tea time.
It reminds me of the difference between like work, like labor and toil. Like when when you're doing work that drains you or hurts you as you do it, you're toiling, right? As opposed to like work that gives you life, fills you up. You know.
This model came out, and it's in the Fable, the book, the Fable. Pat was going from meeting to meeting during COVID, and he was really energized in one Zoom meeting, and then the next one he'd be really grumpy, and then he was back to being energized, and his coworkers are like, "Why are you like this?" And he's an inventor, he is an inventor discerner. So he has his own ID loop all the time. So he thinks of things and then discerns them, and thinks of things and discerns them. So that's where this model spun out of. Was he was in one meeting he was getting to invent or discern, in other meetings he was having to galvanize, and that was making him grumpy. So it can have an immediate, your labor, toil. Like he was going from one meeting, laboring and toiling, draining him quickly, and then like he was giving some life giving, but you lose that energy quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Grace, maybe turn it to you. You've heard the model. We've processed it as a team. We have our team map, and I think we did a training maybe in August or September with the EMP team and some community partners. What did you take away? How has it, colored the way you see EMP, our team dynamics, any of that?
Yeah, it's so helpful practically, the productivity model versus like a personality model. I think like you can know your coworkers, for example, their Myers-Briggs, and it's like kind of helpful. It's like, oh, that person does not want to be in this hour and a half long meeting or whatever. They're introverted, like they're going to drain quickly. But working genius, especially, we're so project oriented here. I feel like it comes into play a lot, because it's like, well, we definitely need somebody like who can invent in the room, or we need to spend some time in wonder. Sometimes I'll start a meeting and I'll go, just so we all know, we're going to be in wonder here for a minute. Like
not
this is where
solving anything. Yes. We're not going to finish it.
Yes. Like literally, let's just live in brainstorm land for a minute, and then we will I promise I'll tell you when we switch or whatever. So that's been really helpful. Just really practical, usable, like plug and play language. That's been great. For me as a leader, my geniuses are discernment and galvanizing. So even this conversation is helpful for me, even in the sense that like I view them as like the easy ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll just be like, well, I don't know. Both those things just come really naturally for me.
Right.
I also identify with the galvanizer of like, I'm not cheerleader necessarily, but I will tell you like, this is what we need to do. Like, here's the vision. Let's roll this way, please. Like the clarifier. So, yeah, I think that in my own leadership, much to grow in as far as like how I view myself in that leadership model. But as a team and as like EMP, as we implement it, so practical. It's been really, really helpful. So
I think it's one of the observations that I've seen, and even, Jeff, when he did his training, he pulled out and kind of did a little team map and just walked through. What we've noticed is by default, we ended up hiring ETs on our school support team, and we had never it wasn't a conscious decision, but the literal term is school support. So support is in the term. And then what they do, the language in the job description, you meet, you train, you place. You meet, you train, you place. You are a coach and a support to all of our volunteers, all of our students. There's a type of person that wants to do that, an enablement and tenacity, because they're going to do that 100 times this semester, over and over and over. And then our neighborhood team was these creative artists who have to invent plans for neighborhoods, galvanize and community organize. And so they're inventors and galvanizers. And we just had never recognized, like, we've basically hired two totally different departments. And also, even I think what's been helpful for me personally is I'm a wonder and tenacity. So I sit on both edges, and just the value of what I have realized. I put people around me that are discerners. So Gabrielle, Grace, and Joyce all have discernment because I skip that gap. I move from an idea to just, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And then 3 months later, it's like, well, we didn't actually line out all the tasks. We're all kind of frustrated with each other, but it's due next month and we have to get it done. And like, that's my life, And so having those folks in the room actually balances our team in a way that is, and if I can't see that gap, will continue just be a thing that I create the chaos that we all live into, right? So,
yeah, I think that now that we have the language, it allows us to speak into it more. Like, hey, you just jumped from the T really fast. Like, or it'll come out like we can't do that in a month, So that's where the discernment comes in or whatever. So I think that it allows us to trust each other more, I think, too, because we all have similar language. We know, like, where each other's strengths, or, excuse me, geniuses are.
Oh, that's fine. People get the idea.
Yes. Yeah, but I think that's been really good, is like using like, hey, I think we just jumped like through the widget too quickly, or so. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the skip, they talk about the altitude of genius, that turbulence. Like if you're going at 20,000 feet and you go down to 5,000 feet, everybody's going to feel that for sure.
Right.
Even the people who are like, I don't mind some turbulence. Like, oh, that's a lot. That's way too much. Yeah.
Yes.
What has given you life about why you've stuck, what gives you life in the training? Why is this a model that you love seeing grow?
It was funny. I think it was one of my first couple of sessions. I realized that, so my genius pairing is DE, discernment enablement. And I'm like, oh, I've never considered myself a consultant. Like I never thought, I'm going to be a consultant.
Yes,
I've always been working at 25 years at Fresno Pacific University because I love the place. It changed my life. And I wanted to be a part of an organization that was changing other people's lives, which was essentially like I had discerned this was a good idea and I was there to help enable everybody to do it. And then I applied that same thought to doing this I was like, oh, this is a fantastic model. I have discerned this is a fantastic model, and I want to be a facilitator so I can go enable everyone, because I want to equip them to do it, enable them, give them what they need. Not you need something that external to you. It's like, no. You just need to give you this framework, this language that you're talking about to say, hey, we're in W right now. let's not go to T. Or conversely, no, we're at the T stage. So Andrew, pump the brakes on the W questions. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So that was what it was when I realized how working on this was just, I thought it was just too good to have it be something of my own. I thought, oh no, not my own, obviously, but like I'm not the only one, but like this is so immediately helpful, instantaneously too. This is something that you don't have to have a piece of software. You don't have to have some rubric. You can put it into practice in your own life immediately. Just the language, the viewpoint. Yeah.
So you literally end a session instead of like cup empty or cup cold of, bad coffee or good coffee. You end a session excited, energized.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm always like, oh, 3 hours. How are we going to fill 3 hours? And then when we get towards the end of 3 hours, I'm like, oh man, I'm cramming I'm skipping some stuff here. Yeah, I'm by nature an introvert. But I know that there are other people who are extroverts and could have the exact same model. So it's been, I think we talked about in the session, if Myers-Briggs is the noun, then this is the verb. Like that's who you are, and this is how you do, if you will. So, so I enjoy the sessions, but like that day, when we did that, there was a lot of people that I went home and I never nap, and I napped because I was just like so absolutely wiped. Yeah, but it was so exciting. I love it because it just continues to grow. Not because I'm like, oh, I have a business I'm looking. No, I definitely don't. This is just something like passionate about doing and getting equipped with other people like this organization, because this organization is not like so narrowly focused. Like you're with the Wonder, you're able to, I wonder if there's another venture we can do, and then people there to support it. And even the description of this podcast ends with encourage you to see your city and its people in a new way, which I think is what this Working Genius, 6 Types of Working Genius is helping see people in a new way. That fundamental attribution error, like you always attribute to others the worst possible motive and attribute to yourself the best possible motive.
Right.
So seeing people in it and not jumping to look at people the most negative possible way, which is, human nature, if you will, sin nature, if you will, whatever. It's especially evident on the freeways, I believe.
Yeah. At Every Neighborhood Partnership, we believe that strong, vibrant communities start with engaged, empowered residents. But to make that happen, we need your help. EMP is on a mission to connect neighbors, create opportunities for local leadership, and transform neighborhoods through education, collaboration, and advocacy. And every dollar you donate goes directly to supporting programs that make a real difference, whether it's providing land use education, elementary literacy mentoring, or healthy spaces to help kids and families grow. When you donate to Every Neighborhood Partnership, you're not just giving money. You're investing in a future where every neighborhood in Fresno has the tools and resources it needs to thrive. Your contribution, big or small, helps ensure that our communities have a seat at the table in the decisions that affect them most. So, if you believe in students excelling, community members that are healthy and whole, and our neighborhoods thriving, we invite you to make a donation today. It's simple. Just visit everyneighborhood.org or tap the link in the show notes to give. Your support helps develop the next generation of leaders like Fresno depends on it. Donate now to Every Neighborhood Partnership. I love that you said the phrase, like, we don't get to opt out. I think sometimes we view things like Working Genius and we implement them just like a personality model, though. So like you were saying in the beginning, like, well, I'm a DG.
Right.
So sorry, everyone. Everything else is going to be hard. I think that was something I heard when we did our large session together, is that a lot of executive leaders or people that are running these organizations are like, well, we have to do it. Like, even if you don't like it, we have to do it. So can you talk a little bit about like the implementation of widget, like through a project? Like, what is that? Maybe give us some, like, just a practical, like, what could that look like? Because even though that Wonder isn't my genius, we have to start there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, could you maybe walk us through what that could look like in a meeting setting or in a brainstorm session or in a project?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to slice and dice the model. You can left to right, top to bottom. One of the ways to slice and dice it is the 3 stages of work. The first 2, the W and the I, the Wonder and Invention, are part of the ideation. And that is your brainstorming, offsites, your strategic meetings. Then there's the D and the G, the middle two. Those are the activation stage. And this is like, is this a good idea? Do we have people to support this? Is this the right time? Do we have too many priorities? Which of the priorities is the priority? And then the third stage is the implementation stage. You skipping any one of those, like not doing ideation, then you're not innovating. You're never doing anything new. You're just getting really good at doing the same old. Conversely, if you don't ever finish anything, you've got great ideas and and we know it's a great idea and it's addressing something and got people ready to go, but nobody to implement it. It's, it's also a failure, or definitely not as effective. So, the framework here, I think, is important, that you don't continue to go up and down all the time. So definitely a tendency. So it doesn't mean Andrew doesn't go into meetings and say, I can't use my W right now. And that doesn't sound like him anyway. Snotty.
That's how I talk.
Folds his arms.
Most of the time. Yeah.
There's this concept of like, you can use the capital genius and your lowercase genius. So if there's a commitment to, and like there's a framework, there's a lot of post-session resources I provide too, like how to do these meetings, like the stand-up meetings is the here's what we're doing daily. Yep. This is really going to lean into the E's and the T's. The more regular meetings on the project would be maybe in the middle to lower half of the whole group. Because one of the other books that Lencioni wrote is Death by Meeting. And his contention was that there's not too many meetings, that there are too few meetings. It's just because we don't have the right kind of meetings. And so he's all about, no, this meeting is, you said, nope, we're just talking about W. That's all we're going to do right here. And not having it also be dealing with the T conversations. Then that meeting it doesn't mean that T's can't go to it, but the T's know what to expect. Yeah. And conversely, the W's can show up to the T meeting. And the W can show up to the T meeting and say, I wonder if there's a more efficient way we could even do this right now. All the ways in between there. So, I mean, if everybody has the framework and the language around it, then I think you can go down. And it does not mean that it is one and done. We can only go through W through T one time, and then that's it. No, you can do it and then come back around and do especially when you said you have lots of projects here, you can immediately do these postmortems on them and say, oh, okay. Yeah, maybe we could have spent a little more time here or a little less time here. There's analysis paralysis. Like there's an overuse and an underuse in every one of these areas. So I think that framework, the playbook, if you will, like here's what our geniuses are. Here's where we can already identify. We have no invention in my family. Like maybe we could buy a book on what to do when we're at Disneyland. Like whatever has somebody else. You're essentially outsourcing it. So you said like, oh, we maybe need to have somebody come in who can speak into this or can galvanize us, who love that. Like, and just as a discerner, as a fellow discerner, I'm sure you love when people say, I'd love to get your opinion on something. Because I'm like, yes, I have an opinion.
Grace will say, I have an opinion.
One of those.
I have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll sometimes just like caution the room, like, I have opinion on this, and I'm so sorry. It will come out. Yeah. So good. Great. Taking an organization like EMP, or even when we did that big training day, there was multiple organizations there. What is the most frequent practical advice or change that you give teams? Do you find that it's often like the same thing when like people first encounter Working Genius and you've seen all their assessments, you see like where the gaps are? Is there something that you find yourself saying a lot to teams as like the first, maybe a first practical step they can implement?
I actually don't do anything like that.
Okay.
Like I don't. I try not to, because I say this is explanations, not excuses. That's like how whether or not you have ownership over the areas that are your competencies and your frustrations. I also say this is descriptive, not prescriptive. So I don't think it would be fair for me to come in and speak for 3 hours and then say, and therefore, based on these letters, you should change these things. I think if the organization is committed to it and says, hey, this is 50% of what you're doing is in your frustration area, and this is, how can we change this? Like there's a real commitment to that. but I don't think it's going to look the same for every organization. Like you said, organically, the people in these school support positions are these E's and T's. But if somebody was hired into that role and their profile was dramatically different, you might say, hey, there might be a different role for you, or is there another role we can create for you, or whatever the case may be. So I think that if the organization truly is open to that and wants to be nimble and wants to be responsive, wants to widget it, if you will. Like, I wonder if there's a better way of handling this. Oh, I bet we could invent a new position. That sounds like a good idea. Let's get people on board. And then like you create the position. Like that just went through the widget right there, even addressing the things within the organization. So I don't, because I speak most of the time when I'm working with these groups. I'm not, because I'm all about the equipping and enabling and getting people with it so that they can make their own determinations what's best for their organization.
I know, as we've tried to be creative or thoughtful, so we have it on our fridge in our break room. That way, you're just reminded a little bit, like these, are where everybody's coming from. As we have hired, especially, I think for all of our last, maybe 4 roles, we've had folks take it that are on the final set. Just not as a final, that's going to be the final make or break, right? That has not been a final make or break, but like we know long term, will this role give them life, right? It's about discerning the fit, I think, long term. And then I think, recently too, it's, I think, helped us see the gaps. I was reflecting at our training of even a lot of our directors don't have a lot of enablement. And so then we can just, we'll complain about everybody, because I think for us, we're not going to babysit people, we're going to handhold people. How do we then create systems of support for people, right? That is not going to be our natural go-to. And so we did bring it on a director who has that, and enablement is one of his gifts, right? And so it gives us a diversity of thought and practice even at every table. So I think those are the ways, we've tried to incarnate some of the ideas and principles, and I'm sure there's more, but it's really been a gift to us.
You've been very informed leadership. It was an effective leader, which is really, really helpful, rather than just immediately filing it away and then it doesn't become a part of your DNA. That's wonderful. And so I started printing those little I like to get into 3D printing, and those little indications of the 2 working geniuses. That was an example. I'm like, invention is not my thing, but I came up with an idea. I'm like, oh man, that's my idea for August. And like kind of clap my hands, all done.
Yeah.
Jeff made this like for those on the podcast or even on YouTube. He did a 3D printed, so like I'm a WT. So one way when you turn it, it looks like a W, and then you turn it the other way and it's a T. So it's a very cool 3D printed little graphic that holds them both together.
And so I've incorporated that because it's another little really small thing that can go on your desk that can just be a little reminder. And if other people in the area know it, when they see it at your desk, they can see that as well. I wish that they would print enamel pins. I move enamel pins. I change them every day. Every blazer, I'm moving the same pin over and over and over again.
I love it. Well, I mean, we can definitely, even in this, I would love for you to use working genius language, or just in general, as we land the plane here, more or less.
Nice.
What?
Tray tables up.
Yes, exactly. What do you encourage people to do if they find themselves like, I'm really drained, like in my work, this is not giving me life, or I'm finding myself like, like why, why am I going to this other meeting again? Like how would you encourage people to find more joy and more energy in their work?
Well, it would be my recommendation would be to take the assessment. If they know their assessment, great. If their supervisor doesn't know what this whole thing is, then I would encourage them to be exposed to it, or bring in the profile. Not coming in and saying, I think, or I am a this and a this, therefore you need to change things up. Bring in the profile, and it changes on a regular basis. So if you've taken it in the past, when you go log in back into the portal and download it, they continue to add things to it. So I encourage you to continue to refresh that. Take it to the supervisor and just say, hey, like, I feel like, being very honest, like this is draining me because most of what I'm doing is in my working frustration. Are there opportunities for me to explore more on the green, because if you can have a balance between the two, that might help. So if my employee came to me with this, I would hope that I would be much more open to looking at the responsibilities against what their profile was. There's a podcast that goes along with this, and there's lots of examples that he's brought up before where individuals are about to be fired, and then their boss was like, "Oh, well, you are absolutely being drained. Let's find something else for you." And that's not going to be true every single organization, and they're not obligated to create a position for people. Like, I want people to thrive, and if they're an asset to the organization, then this is where I'm like, I'm selfish. I want you to be here, and I want you to be thriving because I want you to be here. I think you're a good person, but like, if this is really not going to fit, then let's work together to find a spot where you can thrive. Because I don't want them to be burning and floundering.
Yeah. Well, and that requires, like you said, like to look at people as an asset, to look at them in a new way, to be willing to go the long distance with people, as opposed to like, you're not good, or you're not good at this, you're not doing your task, all right, bye. Like being able to long-term invest in somebody. And if they're a great culture, if they're a good culture fit, if they're a good DNA for the company, what have you, you can change position but it's an investment in time and energy. Yeah,
and it is a conscientious decision on a regular basis. So I don't have tenacity in my working genius, but many of my staff do, and my previous staff as well. So, and every one of these has something that they crave and they crush, and we go through it in the workshop. But the tenacity specifically crave clarity, and they are crushed by ambiguity. And so tenacity is not mine, so I don't naturally gravitate towards it. So my first inclination is not to then give something for somebody to do. Yeah. I'm like, I just need this to be done. Figure it out however you want to do it. And they're like, what? Like that was like stifling to them, because I was looking at it through my lens of like, oh, this is a frustration for me. I can't tell them how to do it that way. So that was that was a decision on my part to be like, oh no, I need to treat them the way that they need to be treated. Golden rule there, quasi golden rule, but like, again, goes back to that guilt and judgment for me, which was being released from the way that they feel about doing a particular task is unique to them. It's not how I view me doing that. So it's been very, very good, helpful for them and me.
Well, again, I thank you, Jeff. It's been a gift. Your training's been a gift to us. I think we really do believe the transformation of our city is predicated on the transformation of ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. We have to be transformed in how we see each other, see God, the world around us. Yeah. And as that happens, we get to participate in the transformation of this place. And so you've helped that happen here. I really encourage you, if you have a team, you're on a team, and you're looking for some sort of professional development, bring Jeff in. We'll put his info in the description. But thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you both. Yeah. Fellow Bakersfield people. It's
Let's
great
go.
to get together.
Go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to find out more about EMP, you can visit us at everyneighborhood.org or follow us at EMP Fresno. Every Neighborhood Partnership and this podcast exists to activate, equip, mobilize, and transform here in Fresno and beyond. If you liked what you've heard, please share and review what's good in the neighborhood wherever you listen. We'll see you next time.